In today's video, we are once again on the A548 and we're looking at a town called Rhyl. Rhyl is in the Welsh Principality of Denbighshire, and once upon a time it was one of Britain's most thriving tourist destinations. Sadly, these days it's little more than a ghost town. This road we're on at the moment is called West Parade, but it could actually be called Memory Lane. There were a lot of attractions along this road that so many people still have fond memories of, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at just a few of those. Despite those attractions being now long gone, one small part of one of those attractions is still going strong to this very day. The only problem is, you'll have to go to Croatia to see it. Let's discuss it. One trucker's eye. Now you might be aware of what used to stand where this retail park does today. Marine Quay is a run-of-the-mill retail park with the same shops as the same old retail parks you'll find in any other town. But what did stand here before was something unique to only a handful of towns. A fairground. Ocean Beach opened in 1954 and was closed in September 2007. Growing up as a child in Liverpool, we were treated to many days out at Rhyl Funfair. But my own personal happiest memory from the Funfair wasn't one of the rides, as one day in 1986 I walked into the arcade to find one of these. Sega had released their Outrun arcade machine less than a year earlier, and this was the game that everybody wanted to play, and one of the first Outrun machines in the UK was here in Rhyl. All of my Christmases had arrived at the same time. Even the fact that you could choose your own music to drive along to was something to behold. Back when it was released, Outrun really was a game ahead of its time. It was 1986, and that was also the year that something else arrived at Ocean Beach, which was to be the first of its kind in Rhyl. Looping Star was Ryl's first looping roller coaster, having arrived from the OK Corral amusement park in the Alps in France. Its time in Rhyl was only short-lived, as just 2 years later in 1988, the ride was transferred to the Camelot theme park near to Chorley. At Camelot, it operated under the name of the Tower of Terror, with the looping part of the roller coaster being hidden by a castle facade. But did you know that this part of Rhyl history is still going to this very day? Since 2017, the ride has been operating at a park called Dalmabad in the Zadar region of Croatia. And these days the ride is known as Big Blue, and according to one source on the internet, it's up for sale. So I guess if you have a few £1,000 spare and a big massive plot of land, you could buy a piece of Rhyl history. But if you can't afford or have the time to get to Croatia, there is a video doing the rounds right here on YouTube by visiting PMP Coasters. Meanwhile, back in sunny Rhyl, it's time to leave the amusement park behind. And already our next point of interest is that building right in front of us. This rather large Victorian building on the right hand side used to be the Palace Hotel. It was built between 1899 and 1900 and eventually opened as a hotel in 1901. According to a newspaper article from 1899, the tender for the building's construction was given to a Mr. Wood from Liverpool for £7,825, and the hotel was to be a first-class hotel in every single department. The hotel was marketed through its position by the sea and with its stunning views. It was also marketed with its tranquility, selling its punters the sound of the waves from the sea. By the 1990s, the hotel had become the complete opposite of the premise it was built on, as by the 1990s the hotel became a nightclub, and apparently a very rough nightclub at that. Then in 2005 it was converted into apartments, and if you go onto the internet today, you'll see that you can purchase one of the apartments for just over £117,000 more than what Mr. Wood from Liverpool built the building for. But I guess that's just inflation for you. In 1989, Rhyl got its very own Sky Tower viewing platform. Using Google Maps, we can see it as it is today. Today, it stands as a repurposed phone mast. But going back through the years, you can see when it was actually a Sky Tower. The attraction was closed as a ride in 2010, following safety fears, and a £400,000 bill to fix it. I mean, you can get 3 apartments in the Palace building for that. It was to be another 7 years before the tower was transformed into a mast and also an illuminated beacon. But just like the Looping Star roller coaster, this tower was also in situ at another place before arriving in Rhyl. Scottish viewers will remember the tower as the Clydesdale Bank Tower from the International Garden Festival in Glasgow in 1988. It even saw some royalty.
Now they will travel by air. The royal couple move into the gondola. They'll be accompanied on their journey aloft by the chairman of Clydesdale Bank plc, Sir Eric Yarrow. The banks of the Clyde have taken on a new connotation in the last few years. So they are aboard. The ride in the tower only takes about 6 minutes. We have liftoff, and what a wonderful view it is from up there. A splendid view of the gondola turning around. I don't think the Princess of Wales likes the height.
It's a good job she wasn't on it when it actually broke down. The ride, however, did only have a shelf life of 10 years after it arrived in Rhyl, and it lasted a few years longer than it was meant to. Moving swiftly on, we passed the SC2. The SC2 is the second Sun Centre after the first one was demolished. One of the most famous attractions at the original Sun Centre was the wave machine. Not only that, but it also had a hanging monorail from the roof. My outstanding memory of that monorail was just how much of a jolt you got when the ride started off. One time when I was on it, I banged my head so hard that I can still remember the crack. No wonder I've turned out the way I have. Apparently, once the monorail was demolished, one of the cars was actually kept and was meant to be in a museum somewhere in Rhyl. If anyone knows where it is, please leave a note in the comments. The indoor monorail at the Sun Centre wasn't Ryl's only monorail. There was another one, which was ill-fated. In 1980, Ryl's monorail was opened to much fanfare by the one and only Terry Wogan. Hello.
Each one making the most of his chance, all together in the floral dance.
That's quite enough of that, thank you. The fanfare with which the monorail was opened to quickly turned into a disaster. The monorail itself only ran for about 7 weeks, and in that time, the owner went bankrupt, the monorail derailed twice, and it suffered technical issues. But apart from that, it all worked great. The monorail was ultimately scrapped in 1982, and it became one of Ryl's most notorious failures. But down the years, Ryl's promenade has seen many other great attractions, whether that be the Lido, or what was my favourite attraction in Rhyl, for which you only needed 2 or 3 wheels. This is Cyclorama, a BMX track on the promenade in Rhyl. And for whatever reason, us kids absolutely loved it. The bikes were like oversized BMX bikes that were made out to look like they were scramblers. You'd ride your bike around a track which was laid out with obstacles. You didn't want to go too fast as the ride was over too quickly, but then again, you didn't want to go too slow, otherwise you looked like an idiot. But for me, it really was the most enjoyable attraction that Rhyl had on offer. Whilst I know the area that the attraction was in, it slips my mind to its exact location. Maybe somebody in the comments will remember. We've just got two very more quick things to look at before we end the video, and the first one of those comes in the form of this white building on the right hand side. Now I'm sure the majority of people watching this will know exactly what the store was that occupied this building, but for those of you who don't know, this was occupied by a very much loved British company. And for the few of you that don't know what this store was, it's time to reveal. It was, of course, a Woolworths shop. And finally, this is Rhyl's magnificent clock tower. And just like the Looping Star roller coaster and also the viewing tower, this clock tower was also built and erected in a completely different place than what it stands today. The only difference being that this one only moved about 20 foot. As you can see on this old postcard, this is the exact same roundabout with no clock tower in the middle. The clock tower was originally built by a bricklayer in 1948, and as we zoom out, you'll see it come into shot. The clock tower was dismantled in the early 90s brick by brick, and then re-erected in the middle of the roundabout. As far as I'm aware, the clock tower was relocated to make way for a bridge, and you can see that bridge here on the left of the roundabout. The clock tower is the only remaining monument on the promenade from Rhyl's golden days. Everything else has completely gone. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. It's time for us to get back on the road and off to another destination somewhere else. As ever, a massive shout out to anybody who comments, likes and shares these videos. As ever, the biggest thank yous go to the people who spent their hard-earned money buying us a coffee using the QR code on the screen right now. And also to the people who've used the super thanks button on our page. It really is very much appreciated. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time. On the trucker's eye.
Beside the seaside, beside the sea.